To introduce our second speaker, Mr. Chua Kim Mong. Please welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Ilin Nandila Azmi and I'll be moderating the next session for our symposium. Moving right along, it is a big honor for us to have our next guest speaker in our schedule today. I'm humbled to invite him to come on the stage and grace the occasion, Mr. Chua Kim Mong. Mr. Chua Kim Mong is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Language and Communications in University Malaysia Sarawak, majoring in Educational Technology, Computational Linguistics, Learning Sciences, and Instructional Design. He has won several awards at national and international levels for various innovations in teaching and learning as well as assistive technology. He is also the recipient of UNIMA's Academic Award for the Teaching Award category in 2014, as well as Best E-Learning Facilitator at International University E-Learning Carnival 2016. Previously, he served as the e-learning coordinator from 2016 to 2018, as well as the Deputy Director of Teaching Excellence from 2018 to 2020 at the Center for Applied Learning and Multimedia. Now, before I give the stage to him, I would like to remind you all to leave your questions in the Padlet link shared in the chat. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's invite Mr. Chua Kim Mong to deliver his sharing.
Thank you so much to Eileen. Yeah, virtual stage. I hope, I can withstand the stage for today. Before I proceed further, I would like to really thank Dr. The previous two speakers, Dr. Siti and also Dr. Azai for sharing their bid. So it makes my life easier in a way because I don't have to talk so much, but I will try my best to cover things which may be useful for you, for all of you especially, because you will be kind of like becoming teachers in the future. So I'm going to cover some important things that I learned throughout the years. Now, I may look young, but I've been teaching for 15 years now. Surprising. I look old. I'm old, but I look young. I am currently a student because I'm doing my PhD at the moment at USM. I just started in October. Basically, I'm same batch with you guys. Just that you guys are taking, master degree, and I'm taking a PhD. But basically, we're all students. All right. So I was given this topic, engaging language learners with technology, but being the third speaker, that's the good thing, meaning I don't have to talk about all the tools, which I really anticipated when I was told by Dr. Hawarti that I'm going to be covering this topic. And I know that the previous two speakers might have covered the tools, so I don't have to go on to the tools. So let me you can see my screen, right? Just in case, this is the challenge of the new norm where you have to keep asking your audience whether they can see your slides because you don't know what they're seeing. Anyway, now technology and language learning has been happening for so long, and different terms are coined throughout the years. People just love the terms. Like you have computer assisted language learning, you have TEL, technology enhanced language learning, you have computer assisted instruction, you have mobile assisted language learning, and then I kind of coined SMiLE earlier with another partner in the UK, but then I found out people don't like the word small, and I really like the way UKM has branded it as SMiLE because I learned the word SMiLE, the acronym SMiLE from Prof. Dato Amin actually a couple of years ago when he started the MOOC for social media and language learning. So I was one of his students, right? But talking about SMiLE, because when I presented it in Thailand, this one of the paper that I thinking big on SMiLE, social media assisted language learning. People don't like the word small because they think social media is bigger than what we think. But whatever term you want to call it, basically we're talking about technology in language learning. And I think when it comes to language learning, technology is the one thing that will really benefit from it because we are not restricted by the content in a way. Basically, everything can be used for language learning. Even if you are talking about topics in STEM, like sciences, mathematics, you can actually use it for language learning if you want to. Because we are the language, we are the carrier, not the content in a way. So that's the beauty of when we talk about language learning. Doesn't have to be English. It can be any languages, foreign languages and whatnot. because it's language, it carries the content. You can talk about it from different angle, and you can use anything in the world. That's why when you're teaching next time, use all these worldwide contextualized topics to be your content, not just grammar, literature all the time, because you are basically the whole world. All the content in the world can be used for language learning. Now, I actually prepared a tool for you to buy. I noticed that you have been, using a lot of tools for the past 2 sessions. I don't know whether you want to try it, but you can maybe if you want to. You can just go quickly to wooclap.com and click go to this acronym SMiLE UKM, just the whole thing, or scan the QR code if you want to. Let me just type it out in the chat box for you very quickly, or somebody has posted up. Okay. Let me just type it up quickly. Are you able to post just in case I have not activated? Okay, you can. Good. Before I ask you to do this, actually, I mean, you're doing it. Prior to this preparation, I actually anticipated a few words. Let's see if my guesses are correct, and let's see if, these are the typical responses that we get when it comes to an engaging lesson. Every time we talk about engagement or engaging lessons, what are the things that you look for as a learner as well as a teacher? It doesn't have to be a learner's point of view all the time. It could be from the teacher point of view. Okay, I have about 13 feedback so far. Let me quickly show you this. Are you able to see the word cloud? Right. So you have fun, you have active, you have interactive, you have feedback, you have humorous, humor. I like the fun with the emphasis of triple N, have fun, right? And humorous interaction and all that. But these are the typical words, right? When it comes to engagement or engaging, when you, whatever, whether you use a tool or without a tool, if you go to any classes or any session, you are looking for this, all right? Humor and all that. So let me show you what I have then. Okay, you can continue posting if you want to. If you are not able to access the WooClap Don't Cry, you can post it in the chat if you want to. Just, be participative. Or you can shout out loud using your mic if you want to. No harm, all right? Okay. Right, those are the words that I always get: fun, interesting, attention grabber, happy, captivating, and I forgot the word active just now, which is quite true, interactive and active. But basically, the word fun and interesting are always the top words when it comes to engaging or an engaged session or something which is really interesting to you. But I would like to highlight the fundamentals of the word fun. The origin of the word come from the the Middle English, which is a very, very negative word. Make a fool of, or be a fool, related to this word fun. In slightly later, the French actually took up the word and call it, to mean as to cheat or to fake something. Basically, if you want to summarize it, fun means you fake it out. You make a fool of yourself, you make others people, a fool and all that, and then become fun. So if you relate the origin of this word fun to an engaging session, you will realize that, like, all of us as teachers or even as students, we are actually making fool of ourselves in a way, right? I could be having a lot of problems in my mind now, thinking about what to eat later, or how all this thing, but I have to smile in front of you, right? Because I'm teaching, I have to smile, I have to engage you by making it feel like, by faking out. A lot of times it's like that. And when you talk about being a fool, it's not easy, which is why teaching is a very tiring job, because you have to fake it all the time. On the receiving end, learners usually don't see this, but teachers will realize that they are feeling very, very tired because they are faking a lot of things, and they have to fake a lot of things. Okay, so why are we talking about this? Because in the current generation, it's even worse now. I mean, things are getting slightly worse than before because you are overwhelmed or pampered with a lot of things. Like I showed here, students are evolving. This is very typical picture. I think this has been circulating for quite some time now, I think for some years. But it's interesting to see why 50 years ago, when we talk about teaching and learning, this issue is already there. Maybe a century ago, when you talk about engagement in learning, how to grab your students' attention and all that, it has been happening up until now, with all the tools that we have. And you see changes in technology. You have different spaces now. You don't have like what we're doing now. We are in a virtual space, but maybe not as immersive as virtual reality or augmented reality. You have social media coming into play now. TikTok appeared in 2016, just merely 4 years ago. But now it's like, the in thing for a lot of young teenagers and even, young adults when it comes to TikTok. It will be amazing what things have changed within 4 years. And then you have schools who restricted the use of gadgets, before this. Now everyone is like, okay, you can use the devices, you can use smartphone, you can use tablet. Before that, teachers are, you can't even bring your old Nokia phone to school last time. I remember I had to hide my phone all the time when I go to school, but now you can use it openly, right? With all the gadgets and all. But things have changed a lot with all the technology, with all the type of students, that we are getting, with the exposure that you're getting at home, the exposures that you're getting from different media. I think social media makes it worse in a way because you get more things now, which you don't even know whether it's true or false, right? A lot of things are happening. And then you have thousands of tools to choose from. The earlier session just now, you have so many tools you were introduced with. Well, maybe throughout your course, you'll be learning more, as you go, right? Like this page that I was gathering. I have this page. You can Google up e-learning ZAF in a bit, but this list itself, I have about 300 tools listed, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like you said, there's just so many tools to use, and you'll be overwhelmed with choices, and you don't know where to start, right? Yet, well, no tool. Thousands of tools, millions of tools, yet you still face this in classes, right? Doesn't matter which in primary school, secondary school, up until, higher education. If you ask a 4-year-old kid in kindergarten, they will tell you the same thing. The class is boring. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to kindergarten because it's boring. You ask a adult taking a PhD in university, yeah, no, everything is boring. Everything is so dry. Why is this happening when we have so many choices in front of us? Like that, just like a lady here facing a MacBook or a laptop which can access thousands of resources worldwide, but we are still getting this problem. Why? Because at the core, nothing much has changed when I say it. And earlier today, the two speakers have introduced you to a lot of theories as well, how you need to be relevant to the pedagogical knowledge that you have, techniques that you have. Like, for example, audiobooks is nothing new. It started in 1924, right? That was radio book. That was the first audiobook in a way because students can connect to a channel and then they can listen to people telling them stories. The only changes, if you can see, is the technology, but the approach is still the same, right? The approach is still the same, which is somebody read out something for you to listen. If I pick up technology, it would be a parent or a teacher reading out loud the story in classes. It's the same old thing, just that something has changed in terms of the technology, right? And then you have the famous one, Dr. C or Professor C.C. Clark in New York University. He was credited to be the first person who introduced this mass worldwide lecture using TV, TV teacher. That was back before World War, where they invented TV. He started experimenting where he is not in the class. He just put everything on the so-called projection, and everyone is watching him from the TV. If you compare now, if you reverse now, it would be the other way around, right? A lecture, live streaming and web conferencing, and looking at different, like what we are doing now. I'm looking at all of you. You are not in front of me, but I mean, you are not physically in front of me. You are closer to me now as compared to a physical space because I can see you right up to your nose and eyes. All right, I can even squeeze my face on the screen to be closer to you, but that physical part is no longer there. But things are still the same in a way, right? So bottom line is, technology can go as fast as they want with all the tools, with all the innovation and whatever you have Padlet, you have and even all these tools are evolving, right? If you remember Wall Wisher, you can't even do so many things. You can only post a sticky note. Now you can do more. Things are changing a lot. But at the core, the principle is still the same. The idea is still the same. The concept is still the same. The things that they hold on to are still the same. And also the learners are slightly changing in a way. I wouldn't say it's totally because in Malaysia, I think these changes are not that rapid. What I noticed is the me generation, the Gen Z, and even the late millennials, those born after 2000, I believe most of you here, you guys are born after year 2000, and some of you may be late 90s, but you have so many things, right? You have so many tools, so many things. And then like, for example, if your lecturer asks you to do assignment and all that, you'll be Googling, and then you can tell your lecturer, say, I can't find anything, which is weird. All right. If you tell me 10 years ago you can't find anything, I would already, I'm already skeptical. But now we have millions of things on the net, and you tell me you have nothing, means it's not about information anymore. You're seeking for inspiration. This is why a lot of influencers can gain followers, because they know that the information provided by the person may not be accurate, but the person is giving them inspiration to move on in life or to be engaged in learning. So they are looking for inspiration. I believe all of you too. You are looking for inspiration where they will inspire you to go further, not only in your career, in your studies, or in anything in life. That's why influencers can earn a lot, because they are hopping on this thing because they know you want this, so they give you more, right? And if you are inspired by the right tool, or learners are inspired by the right tool, then you are likely to be more engaged in a way. But I'm not saying it's 100%. Sometimes even if you use the right tool, there are other factors come into play, but at least using the right tool will help you to solve one part of the problem, which is the engagement part, all right? So in English language teaching, you can't run, you cannot run away from all these ELT methods. Your first year student, I believe you'll be learning this throughout your years of study. Some may be foreign to you, like grammar translation method, audiolingual method, structural approach. These approaches has been around for so many years, and you'll be surprised they are still being implemented. Even you see Duolingo, if you have this app, Duolingo, is heavily depending on the first one, the grammar translation method, because what it was doing is it just replicate the grammar and try to force you to memorize. So in grammar translation method, you do a lot of memorization of the rules and all the words and all that. And then you have audiolingual method as well. People will tell you, if you want to learn a language, listen, right? And keep on listening, practice. That's audiolingual method, which is also replicated in a lot of YouTube channels, like the one that I always refer to, like English with Jennifer or Jennifer ESL. She had produced so many videos, but the essential part is still the audiolingual method, where you learn by listening and then you keep repeating, right? You have structured approach, you have, which is a famous one now, CLT, and also TBLT or TBLL, task-based language learning. A lot of things that you learn now are basically task-based. They give tasks, you give tasks to student, or you create a task, but all the tasks are being supported by technology. So in a way, you see all the methods are still the same, but you tweak it by using technology. And today, hopefully you will realize that after the 3 talks, don't be too bogged down by the technology, right? The principle or the guidance should still be there based on theory, right? I saw some of your video where you relate to learning theories. Those are the broader sense, right? Constructivism, cognitivism, those are the broader sense. But when you talk about English language teaching, then you have to narrow down to your scope of all these methods that you can use in teaching the language. So the big E's, you have engagement, you have enrichment. And right now, I think we are moving forward to, because we are looking for inspiration, we need to look for this one, empowerment, which is still very lacking in a lot of sessions. We need to empower our students to do more than just being engaged. Engaging is one thing. I can talk with an engaging manner, but if I didn't provide anything to enrich your learning experience or to empower you to use the language, for example, then it's a failure to me as a teacher, because I don't want you to love me because it's engaging only. I want you to be able to learn and to be able to improve, right? If you're learning a language, I would love to see you to be very confident in the language. That is empowerment, right? It's not enough by talking about engagement alone in a way. So don't be too how to put it, to obsess with the engagement part where, you know, you do a lot of visual, use a lot of tools, you know, you change everything, but then you forgot about how are you going to enrich the learning experience? How are you going to empower your students to be better in their learning as well as, you know, in the journey? And all these are related to tasks, activities, content, you know, and assessment. All these are together. Of course, I will not go into detail because these are the things that you will learn throughout your years, you know, in study. And those who have been teaching, you can improve it from time to time. But there's another E that I think is quite emerging of late, especially during the pandemic. It's empathy. I think we don't forget this as well. As much as we want to engage students and all that, you still have to empathize with students. Like, you prepare very nice lah, you know, you are very in a good mood, you go to class and then you see some of the students are still frowning, you know, sleepy, you know, you have to empathize that maybe they didn't sleep last night, or maybe they helped their parents, you know, or somebody just passed away, things like that. There are a lot of issues that we have to look into. It's not just enough by looking at engagement, enrichment, empowerment alone, all right? But all still, you know, everything still lead to this thing called motivation. So all the E's just now still lead to motivation, and motivation is a very dirty word, I would say, because nobody can actually define this. You can read all the papers about motivation, intrinsic motivation, you know, extrinsic from neuroscience point of view, from instructional designer point of view. Nobody can actually pinpoint what are the things that would motivate the learner actually, right? But one thing is certain. I let Mary Poppins pop up for a while. Anyhow, if you have watched Mary Poppins, you will be, you know, kind of like intrigued with this song. If not, you can Google up later. I like the fact that she pointed out about this spoonful of sugar thingy, but the context was about medicine, right? But if you talk about learning or teaching, sometimes just a spoonful of sugar is enough. You know, a bit of motivation will be sufficient for you to motivate your learners to go through the whole session with you. It could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, it could be even now 1 hour. But of course, too much sugar is bad for you, right? You'll be diabetic. you end up, you know, being diabetic. So that's why I said, don't treat everything, you know, sugar coated everything. Everything is so, you know, so sweet, and you still have to go back to the reality where not everything is, how to put it, is fun. Not everything is fun, and a lot of important thing in the world or in life is not fun, right? But you have to learn it because it's just something that you need to survive. If I ask you to fast for 1 month, for example, it's not fun, but it's something that you have to do because it's your responsibility to experience the fasting behavior and all that, for example. So these are the things that we have to learn to accept. So sometimes in your class, your sugar may not work. What happened? Don't throw away the medicines. Slowly, you know, next time you might want to introduce a different way of letting your students take the medicine. Medicine will be your topic or your whatever you want to learn or whatever you teach them, all right? So how do you increase level of engagement to technology? I have 3 A's for you. Remember this. You have align, you have amplify, and you have actualize. I summarize everything, and some of this has been covered by the previous 2 speakers. Align, which is very important. Align it with what? Align it with skills and competency. As a teacher, you have to know what are the skills that you want to teach. What are the skills that you want to focus on? It's not enough by just going for the core main skills of, you know, speaking, writing, listening, and reading and all that. The big one. You have to know the sub skills as well. If I ask you now, what are the sub skills of reading? You are you know, you should be capable of telling me sub skills or readings are skimming and scanning and identifying main ideas and all that. If you can't, then you have to polish up that, because those skills will be the one that you're going to tell your student, look, today we're going to learn how to construct sentences. So you know these are important for writing, for example. And competency. Competency is a broader sense in a general term, like communicative competence. How do you do public speaking? How do you speak in front of camera? These are competencies that you want to align to. So if you know how to align this, then the tools that you use, whatever tool you want, Padlet, you know, Twiddler, Powtoon, whatever tools that you are exposed to, will then match to all these skills, because the tools are just helping you to reach out to the task better. So use the tool to extend your ability to conduct this, not to replace you, right? Amplify. What do you amplify? Amplify means you increase, right? You make it, you know, amplified or make it better. Amplify the opportunities and capacities. A lot of time in language learning classroom, we do not amplify opportunities. We talk. 5 minutes left. Student has only 5 minutes to talk. who is learning the language here? Did the teacher or the student? If you want your students to learn the language, then students should be getting the opportunities to learn the language or to practice the language with you, because that's the only time they see you, probably. I taught in rural school before, and because I'm in Sarawak, I taught in rural schools, and every time I go to classes, I don't really talk much because I want them to talk, because those students, that is the only time they get to use English, because other times they will be using their native languages, right? Iban, Bidayo, and all that. So these are the things that we forget all the time. So if you chunk your lesson, more time should be given to opportunities and capacities. So build the capacities. If you notice that they are really good in writing, how do you amplify this? How do you make them feel better using technology? Easy. For example, make it a blog, right? If the student don't have access, no problem. Pass me your writing. I put it up on the blog. I share with the rest of the world. I get the feedback. I pass back to you. So these are many things that we can do. It doesn't have to be constrained or restricted by technology all the time. The teacher is the center point on all this, right? Actualize. How do you actualize? Actualize means you contextualize, make it happen. You have to focus on this authenticity. Just don't forget about the real world. Whatever you want to create in your classroom, do not forget about the real world. If you teach them skills A, you have to ask yourself, are these skills really relevant in the real world? Do they really need to do this? Do they really need to produce videos? Yes, of course, because in the real world later, you might be asked by your employer to produce videos. Now that you are learning how to produce videos, good, because you are preparing yourself for the real world. Connection, relationship, between things, between subject matter, between topics, all these things you have to actualize it, implement it nicely, because good teachers or great teachers, they do not rely on compliance. They rely a lot on connection and also relationship, not between you and student, but also between student and student, and also student with the rest of the world. Now that we have technology again, don't forget that they are not connected to you alone, right? You are learning Tasson in UKM, but you could be getting input from lectures all over the world, right? You have to remember that. So that's the part where actualization of all these materials, activities would help to increase the level of engagement. Just a quick one before I wrap. I'm almost done, but these are just extra tip for you guys, because you guys are going to be teachers soon. These are the 5 C's. I created this. There's a cost for this. There's a MOOC. I'm gonna put it with the. I'm gonna put it in a MOOC soon. But these are the 5 C's that you have to remember. As a teacher, you have to remember the vibes, the positive vibes that you bring into the class. It's always tiring to do this, but it's always good. Even though if you don't want to smile in your class, but you have to create that vibe. Some teachers, they don't really smile in the class, but the moment they enter your class, you feel the vibes, that closeness that you have with the teacher or the lecturer. You need to build that. The voice, I was commenting about some of your voices in the video as well. You have to be friendly but firm. Some voices, when you listen, do I have to listen to this for 1 hour? And do I have to a lot of things. So how do you build that friendly but firm? It takes a lot of practice. You can watch a lot of videos and learn how to be playful with your voice, right? Not monotonous. Be playful with your voice. You have to use visual, relevant and appealing, but not too much. Like, again, remember, spoonful of sugar, not too many visuals. It could be disturbing. The versatility, flexible and empathetic. You have to be very versatile in your teaching. And last one, you have the variant. The variance is not just another word for diversity, which is to be creative and to be innovative. The problem with engagement is, like, if you use the same thing all the time, students will get bored as well. I have a lot of students who come to my class and say, "Sir, not Kahoot again. We are bored with Kahoot." Imagine that. You just use it for 2 times and then they say it's boring to use Kahoot. Then you have to try out something else, all right? You have to improvise some of the tools that you use, all right? Maybe you try other tools like quizzes and whatnot, what else, Quizlet and all that. Again, you see, technology, if you depend on it too much, it becomes like a reason for it to be boring, to be less engaging. I just want to share this before I end. I recently tweeted this, talking about the struggle of being a teacher. A male teacher actually burst into tears during a one-to-one session with me the other day. The problem was he lost his wife in September 2020, and he was really struggling with online teaching because of the pandemic. He had to take care of 4 children and all that. But when the community around him, when the people around him start labeling him lazy, instead of fighting back, he felt that he need to do something, which I think is very, very, very noble of him to think about that, because some teachers would probably just lambast everything on social media and start to blame everyone. But he took the initiative to approach me and try to improve. And we had about 4 sessions now, and I noticed the progression that he was doing. He's more comfortable in Google Meet now. He's more comfortable in Google Classroom and all that. So what I'm telling you here is, technologies are there, technologies are everywhere. If the teachers is not motivated or not inspiration enough to try out something new or to improve themselves, things will not change. Back to the slide I showed you earlier, things will remain the same, right? So we need teachers to be more proactive in that sense. We need teachers to be more more active in contributing to the change, because we are looking too much on the technology. Actually, we focus too much on technology, but we forgot about the human part of the whole process, which is you lah. All right, just to echo Bill Gates, as you can read from the slides, technology is just a tool, right? In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is still the most important. That's why we need all of you to be really, really good teachers. In a nutshell, if someone says technology can replace teachers, take it with a pinch of salt, because learners still want that spoonful of sugar from good teachers. Technology will not replace teachers, but it will replace bad teachers. That's all I'm going to tell you. All right. So if you don't improve yourself in that sense, then you will not be able to catch up with the technological change, and then you will feel overwhelmed, and then you will give up easily. So please don't let that happen to you. I wish you all the best in your study and be a good teacher. One day I would love to see all of you to be excellent educators to make the change in our classroom. Enough of blaming the government, enough of blaming the whole system. You are the agent of change in the classroom. All right, that's all. Thank you. If you have any question, please post on the Padlet. I'll be more than happy to answer. If not, you can buzz me anywhere on my social media. I'll be more than happy to answer as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Let me stop sharing. Oh, where was this? Oh, here. I lost track of the button. Okay.
Wow, what a fruitful session that was. Very true, yeah. Thousands of tools to choose from, but everything still remains so mundane. But lucky for Mr. Chakiman's